Well, oh well, it is good to have football back on, even if it's preseason and the starters didn't play a whole lot. It's still good to have football back nonetheless. And for the Dolphins, they were in Washington for preseason week 1, and there was quite a bit to go over, mainly with the starters. The backups didn't play the greatest, but for the starters, there is some stuff we can go over here. They were out there for the opening drive of this game, and they looked good. Willis had some zip on his passes, was also pretty accurate, went 4 for 5 on the 14-play touchdown drive to begin the game. His lone incompletion on this drive was a great pass to Caleb Douglas, but he was just barely out of bounds when he made the catch. He did also make up for it though with a fantastic reception on the very next play. I mean, this is an incredible catch by Caleb Douglas through some really tough contact. This was called a DPI, keeping the concentration all the way through on the one-handed grab. This was deemed the #1 play of the preseason so far by ESPN and SportsCenter afterwards, and it makes a lot of sense. This was an incredible catch, and it was also a good throw from Malik Willis. Yes, it doesn't look the greatest because of the DPI, but if there was no DPI on there, this is a near perfect back shoulder throw on a slot fade route. So all around, it was a really good opening drive from Malik Willis, and again from Caleb Douglas and this offense as a whole. Willis also used his legs a tiny bit in this opening drive as well. He had a scramble that set up a 3rd and 1, which was then converted, which is pretty rare in Miami over the past few seasons to convert on short yardage. They did so in that instance. There was another scramble that drew a horse collar tackle and set up a 1st and goal later on in this drive. And then very early on in this drive, there was a bootleg that was the first down of the drive and of the game for Miami. All around, Willis's mobility is going to be a big difference maker and a big change in this Dolphins offense, and we see very early on in the preseason exactly what that could mean for this offense as well. Achane continues to be Devon Achane with some really solid carries throughout the opening drive, and aided by the offensive line, which looked really good. They were moving bodies the entire opening drive. Caden Proctor was kind of living up to the praise here a bit. He was really getting all over the place with this, moving bodies up front, was asked to pull quite a bit on his opening drive and did well in that as well. And Jonas Savagniana also looked good at right guard compared to how he looked last season at left guard. Rookie tight end Will Kazmarek looked great as well in the run blocking game. That's kind of why he was drafted, to be that really good blocking tight end for this team, and it was on full display during this opening drive. The other big improvement I saw with the starting offense is that there were no pre-snap penalties and there was no issue with the play clock. They got the play into the huddle, Willis said it cleanly, and they got to the line and snapped the ball with still plenty of time on the play clock. It was a very smooth operation, which is something that has not been the case in Miami under Mike McDaniel and Tua Tagovailoa. So that was a very nice change to see. Obviously, later on in the game, there was some pre-snap issues and some formation stuff, but that wasn't with Malik Willis and a certain offense. So I'm willing to kind of just be like, whatever, especially because also the quarterbacks behind Willis did not play great in this game, but we'll go over that in a little bit here. The starting defense looked good also. It wasn't really anything special. They were able to get pressure onto Mariota and Sam Hardman in this game, but the secondary is going to be a very tough watch this season, as we saw in this game. When the front seven can't get consistent pressure, the holes are going to open up quick in the back end. Now, Jordan Brooks and Zach Zeeler did not play tonight, which is definitely going to be a factor in the long run for evaluating this defense, as when those two are on the field, they're going to be massive difference makers. They're going to be able to make some plays that other guys can't. But still, the back end and the secondary is going to be an issue nonetheless, even with Brooks and Zeeler eventually into the lineup. Willis's day was done after the opening drive, so now we're going to talk about the backups throughout the rest of the game. Jalen Wright had his good moments in this one, as did Ollie Gordon as well. Obviously, neither of them are Devon Achane, so there's going to be a little bit of a downtick of production at the end of the day, but they both still looked pretty serviceable to be backup running backs. I couldn't really judge any of the pass catchers after the opening drive because there were so few completions in the final however many drives of this game. Both Cam Miller and Quinn Ewers did not look great in this one. Combined, they only had 4 completions throughout over 3 quarters of play, and it's just a very rough look for this offense in that aspect. Ewers ended up going 1 for 8 in this game, and he only had 1 completion, which was off of a broken play and a kind of desperation pass to Jalen Tolbert, who had a good catch and run off of it. But aside from that, he was off target most of the night. He was not on the same page of his wide receivers, and it was a very rough look. Cam Miller had a chance to really separate himself from Quinn Ewers in this game, and he kind of played better, but not really by a whole lot. It's still a very rough look for the backup quarterback position in Miami. He did have more than 1 completion in this one. He had a good pass to AJ Henning on a 3rd and long. There were some pretty bad drops here as well, mainly one by Terrence Marshall. At the same time, he did also throw 2 pretty bad interceptions, and yes, both those interceptions had pressure in his face, but still, it was just not a good look. I do expect Miami to bring in someone else to compete for that quarterback 2 spot. At the very least, they should, because right now they do not have a good backup quarterback entering the season, and we've seen from years past how very valuable a backup quarterback is for this team. Combined, Ewers and Miller had a 1.97 passer rating on that night. It is crazy how different they performed compared to Malik Willis. The defense struggled at the end of the first half, giving up 17 points pretty quickly after Ewers threw his lone interception of the night, which was also right after Marco Wilson had a good interception off of Sam Hartman. Jacob Rodriguez led the second unit pretty well with the green dot. There was definitely some issues with the run defense in this game, especially in the first half. They weren't sending the edge properly and they weren't filling in those rush lanes well enough. But for the most part, Jacob Rodriguez himself, I would say, had a good day in his first outing as a Miami Dolphin. He got a hand on a pass after a good rush. And again, he was just seeing the field pretty well and making sure the guys were lined up pretty well. He also has a few good tackles here and there also. Chris Johnson had a nice pass defense in the end zone, which I kind of wish he hanged on to for the interception. But he was in a good position against second-year wide receiver Jalen Lane. 7th round rookie Max Llewellyn had a sack on 3rd and goal right after to force a field goal try, and he was getting pressures throughout the night as well. For the most part, the depth pieces in the front 7 were being moved around most of the night by the Washington offensive line. In the second half, it got a tad better, but it still wasn't the greatest of looks in the end. Kyle Lewis made some nice tackles both on defense and in special teams, and Major Burns was the same. It was really nice seeing Major Burns out there being a difference maker for the defense. He had some really nice tackles, including a nice tackle on a 3rd down QB run. All around, it was great to see Major Burns out there in a professional uniform after seeing him be a monster for the Houston Gamblers in the UFL this past season. Trey Moore had some nice hustle tackles as well. Cam Good had a sack off of a nicely designed pass stunt. Miles Battle had a nice pass breakup on a 3rd and long, which was a good play by him to follow through to the ground to force the ball loose. In the end, for this being the first bit of live action we see of this team this season, I am okay with what we saw. It's kind of what I expected, to be honest. There's clearly work that needs to be done, mainly on the defense and in that secondary, but this is a very young team and a lot of one-year deals on this team. They're going to have the 3rd most amount of cap space open up in the next offseason, and that's where I really want to put the pressure on this team. For this season, I just want to see guys improve week in and week out, and we get to see that now after this week 1 game. The next test for me is how is Hafley going to handle these week-to-week preparations now that we have a week 2 opponent. And yes, it's the preseason. The week-to-week is not the exact same compared to what it will be in a regular season. Hell, the Dolphins have a joint practice coming up with the Giants. But at the end of the day, I want to see how he takes the film from this game and how he applies that into a practice and then into the next week. So these week-to-week preparations are now what I want to see from Hafley and this team as a whole. Do they get better entering preseason week 2? Do they look more consistent? Do they look more complete as a team? That's now more so what I want to see, and then we continue that into preseason week 3 and into the regular season from there. This is not a season where I expect Miami to win a lot of games or play well in a lot of games, but I do want to see kind of the minor improvements week in, week out that you can expect over the course of a season. By the end of the regular season, I want Miami to play pretty well by then, but early on is about the minor things, it's about the fundamental things, and it's about the week-to-week preparations. So I want to see how Hafley handles that from preseason week 1 to preseason week 2. There was definitely some great, like from the starting offense, some good, like the starting defense. There was some okay, and there was some poor. But all around, that is the point of the preseason. Again, they have a joint practice with the Giants, and then their week 2 matchup on Saturday at 4 p.m. there. So we'll see how things look. But for now, with the Dolphins, it feels good to be able to watch this team and not have a lot of expectations and be able to just take in what this team wants to show me and then react from there instead of having a kind of definitive idea of what this team should be. I have no expectations, I have no idea, and I'm willing to be surprised along the way. But I appreciate everyone tuning in. I'll see you all next time. Have yourselves a damn good one. Peace.